Today we'll be reacting to a Millennial Money video from the CNBC Make It channel. Video's title is, I live on $183K a year and own 4 rental properties worth $2.3 million. So seems like this guy's on his way to financial freedom. He's still working a job. However, he must be purchasing properties. Super interested in how he's doing it. I said, let's dive in.
When I bought my first property, that was the most exciting and nerve-wracking time of my life. But I do feel like my story will help others see what's possible and hopefully inspire others to take action and control their life and get on the path to be financially free. If I feel uncomfortable or I feel fear, that means I'm learning. And that's what I felt when I bought my first property. I did not let fear take control of my actions. My name is Karan Vij. I'm 33 years old. I make $183,000 and I live in Chicago.
$183K, that's a ton of money. And he's only 33 and he owns 4 rental properties. So far that's super impressive. Like, the amount of money that he's making is impressive, but I also like the fact that he's not just happy with the salary. He's started to purchase rental properties to build financial freedom, and hopefully one day he gets to the point where he doesn't necessarily even need the 183K because the properties are bringing in more than 183K.
This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is a long-term investment. There's some months that you're gonna make a lot of money. There's some months you're gonna break even, and there's some months that you're gonna lose money.
People typically aren't interviewed during like the middle process, right? Or at the beginning. Like, this guy's still working a job and he's investing in properties, right? To me, that's like, he's doing both, but it's a slow grind. It's not, hey, start an agency tomorrow and make $8 million, or hey, I'm gonna be an influencer and make 500 grand a year. I'm gonna make, or hey, I started OnlyFans yesterday and I'm making 300 grand a month, right? All things you see on social media, not knocking any of them, but I just like the reality and the truth behind the fact that, yeah, you could still work a job, make money, and then invest in your side business or side hustle or real estate in order to eventually become economically free to where you don't necessarily need the 9 to 5.
I have low monthly expenses because one of the perks that I have in my job is I do get a company car, which covers gas and insurance. The other perk is I get a company phone. I absolutely love debt, but I'll say I only like good debt.
So, I mean, yeah, like, if you're super smart and you're wise, like, debt's risky. It can help accelerate profits, but it can also help accelerate your destruction in other ways. So I think it's a double-edged sword to be used very, very carefully. Yeah, I mean, just use it carefully. Not a super fan of debt, but as I take a look at getting into real estate, maybe something that I leverage at some point, but I'm very cautious to know that just because you can borrow money to do said activity doesn't mean that you're going to have success in said investment. Look at all the people that borrowed money to get into crypto, where they ended up. I'm sure some people succeeded, but all of them didn't.
I realized that the houses that we were renting were all charged per room. It wasn't a charge for the whole house. The landlord was charging per room. And when I did the math, I realized that by charging per room, you could actually accelerate your gains compared to any other real estate option. I decided to find places that were as close as possible to colleges and universities.
Yes, I guess his strategy is to buy a house and rent out the rooms in a college town. And there are multiple strategies. I know there's some investors that rent out single family homes, and that's how they get the wealth. This guy's strategy is renting out a single family home, but then also renting out the rooms, which I assume you could get a pretty good cash flow going if you do it right.
Yeah, it's quite popular over here in Europe. Doing that, buying multiple bedroom homes, renting them out just room by room. And that's how a lot of the landlords over in the UK make their money.
Huh, that's interesting. And is it legal to do that?
Yeah, it's legal, and they can either have like little kitchenettes in the rooms, or they have like a shared living space, shared kitchen. But even then, they're still charging about $1,000 per room, and they can have multiple, like 6, 7 rooms in each home.
Holy cow. Yeah, so you're making like $7,000 if the mortgage is like, half of that. All right, well, so far I don't see anything I don't like.
The first one that I bought was in Hamilton, Ontario. I chose properties outside of Toronto due to price and familiarity with where I went to school. I got into student rentals because of a few things. Number one, because you can charge per room, that gives you an opportunity to generate higher profits. Number two is steady demand and steady stream of tenants. You're always gonna have demand for that house because colleges and universities don't shut down. And number three, a lot of people think that one of the negatives is the high turnover because of the shorter term leases. That is true.
Yeah, because most people will stay on campus for probably the first 2 years and then move off for 2 years. So maybe you could lease each room for like a 2-year time period. Like if you don't mind the high turnover and doing all the work to keep filling up those rooms, then it could be profitable.
But that is also the opportunity for higher gains because you can now readjust your rent to the current market levels.
All right, so now that he's getting good at real estate, he bought a condo pre-construction and then sold it. So then he made some profits off of buying a condo during the economic boom of the past couple years and then sold it for a profit. I mean, that makes sense. I got a lot of friends that have done the same thing in various areas. So that can also be risky because if you don't find a buyer or it's a super competitive market, then you just end up holding on to a property that you paid too much for and can't get the rent for. But in this case, it seemed like it worked out.
For me, the strategy is to buy now, hold forever, because when the property is paid off, all of the rent coming in will be 100% profit.
His strategy is it's okay, but it's kind of like he's taking on like a lot of risk. So he has like $100,000 cash to fix everything and can get like a credit line. But at the same time, the buy and hold strategy is cool, but you need to have enough money to be able to weather all the storms. Like what if you don't have full occupancy in each of your units? You're making $183K and you're paying for 4 mortgages. Not that everything's gonna go wrong at the same time, but you never know. like it's business, and there's a long time before these properties are paid off. So that's the biggest risk that I will call out here, is the fact that while it makes sense, there's a lot of risk due to the fact that there's a lot of leverage on these properties because they all have mortgages on them, from what I understand in this video. So with that said, I think I've seen enough. Here's some takeaways from this video. One takeaway is I like the fact that he's building up a portfolio slowly and has a job. So he's not selling you the dream of Airbnb millionaire or all these things, which I'm sure, once again, right, like not knocking all the ways that people make fast money. But if you want something sustainable, there needs to be a certain skill set developed, processes, systems, and everything else. And it seems like he's keeping his 9 to 5. He's good at sales and he has a steady income. And now he's taking that steady income and leveraging it into buying properties. The second takeaway, just the fact that it just took him, like he bought his first property in 2016. He didn't rush all in, buy a ton of properties, and then, end up going broke or something along those lines. I actually, at one point when I got my first job, I actually did the opposite. Like I bought a ton of properties in Detroit and other places, but I wasn't making as much as he was. I can afford to take some more risk, but when you're early in your career, I would say I like his strategy of just buying one property, getting that property to be successful, and then possibly buying like another property. So the slow approach, building up a reservoir in case anything goes wrong, and then once you get to a steady place, then buying the next property. Like I like how he's doing it safely, and then I'm assuming as he continues to do it and builds up more equity in his properties, he'll be able to take on a little more risk and probably accelerate the outcome that he's looking for. Last takeaway is just, if you're going to get to financial freedom, which is being able to have enough money and then enough time to do what you want to do when you want to do it, or do passion projects, or just do what you find enjoyable and kind of follow your interest, you're going to have an unconventional approach, because most people won't be able to retire from just having like one income. And so that said, this is a great example of someone who isn't relying on just his income, which is a decent income in tech, but he's also realizing that he wants to build generational wealth and is doing that through investing in properties. So I think a stellar example. Olivia, what do you think? What's your take on this video?
I do like his strategy of renting out to students, because I know firsthand just like how here there is a constant flow of students and there is that adaptability of raising your prices, versus when you have, especially in Canada, when you have a tenant for a longer term, you're limited as to how much you can raise your rent with them every year. So I do quite like his strategy with that, and I think he's done a good job, really.
Well, that's it. Another person looking for the American dream in America. Is this something that you think is viable for what you guys are trying to accomplish? Let us know in the comments. And if you like videos like this, make sure you like and subscribe, and we will see you in another video. Until next time.